This is me winning in Apex Legends with Alter in Season 21. Dude, that's great. I was hoping to sucker. It's been a solid 5 years of the game, and if you thought that looked really familiar, strap in because we still have 20 more wins to go in every Apex season. And I'll be ranking the seasons on a tier list to find out what was the best season for Apex Legends. But to do that, we'll have to take a trip and travel back in time. It's February 4th, 2019. Apex had come out of nowhere, and this is showing one of my first wins in the game ever.
Oh yeah.
Wait, was that it? Wait, why didn't they die immediately?
In Season 0, there were only 8 legends, bunny hop healing was the only movement tech, and the one heirloom at the time was for Wraith. For updates, the Havoc was revealed as the new gun, and there was a minor Valentine's Day event that ran for about a week in February. With a ton of giant streamers playing the game, it felt like we truly had a worthy contender for BR that would last. The gameplay, at least for me, wasn't that crazy since, well, everyone was new to the game. If I had to give this season a rating, Season 0 definitely ranks pretty high at A tier. However, things start to take a shift in right around March 19th, Season 1 drops, and I feel like at this time, Respawn may have been caught off guard and unprepared with how popular Apex Legends was. In the background, I'm showing one of my first wins with Octane. While my gameplay had improved since Season 0, it's funny watching it back now with how clunky and slow I was playing, and at times, not even really using the abilities.
Nice.
First one of Season 1.
I love you guys.
I think interest and player numbers were at a crazy high, but Season 1 felt pretty empty. A new legend, Octane, was revealed and released, and he was definitely a fan favorite, but besides that, it was a pretty quiet 3 months in terms of updates. The Battle Pass was honestly a bit disappointing. However, the one bright spot was the Legendary Hunt event, which introduced Elite Queue, a game mode where if you got top 5 in a match, you could queue up for Apex Elite, where you go up against other top 5 players. However, as soon as you fail to secure top 5, you drop out of Elite Queue. There was even a really cool badge you can get for getting 8 wins on 8 different legends with at least 8 kills on each in Elite Queue. Oh, and the bugs. Who could forget the glitches you could do in early Apex? Like all those crazy interactions with Gibby's arm shield. They were hilarious, but I don't think I would count this as a positive or a negative to the season. Either way, I remember feeling that Respawn was dropping the ball a little bit with the quiet season when so much hype was surrounding the game, thus causing a lot of people to get bored and leave. I don't want to be too harsh with an F tier rating since I really did enjoy Elite Queue, so I'd put this season at D tier. Now, in summer of 2019, Season 2 drops for Apex, and that's when I felt like content was really starting to flow for the game. By this point, my gameplay had improved, a new waifu just released, Wattson, and the L-Star was also introduced. The win I picked for Season 2 had a pretty fun ending on the original Skulltown, and in the background you can see that all 3 of us were using the Alternator Disruptor rounds to secure that juicy victory royale.
We all have disruptor rounds. God.
The Battle Pass for Season 2 was also much better than Season 1. Ranked had also become a thing, as well as the introduction of the iconic hop-up duo Hammer Points and Disruptors, which by the way are still my favorite hop-up additions to the game. There was also the heirloom for Bloodhound that dropped, the Octane Gauntlet Town Takeover, and Sing Labs, plus the giant Leviathans were also now on Kings Canyon, which added the possibility of crushing players. Oh, and who could forget the Solos event? Still, to this day, one of my favorite game modes of all time. The season truly felt like it breathed fresh air and life into Apex, which was a bit starved for content at this point. Season 2 is definitely A+ tier for me. I didn't want to give it S tier because now this was peak Apex Legends for me. It was September of 2019, and Respawn actually had invited me and a bunch of other creators out to LA to record for Season 3 early. It was a huge opportunity for me, and for the Season 3 win, I included footage from that event. Sadly, I went down in this game, but my boy Staycation clutched it up for the win here.
Dude, Stay got 8 kills. That's crazy.
Season 3 was actually a pretty long season, at 4 months long instead of the usual 3 months. That being said, I felt like it was jam-packed with incredible content. The brand new map at the time, World's Edge, new legend Crypto, and the controversial Charge Rifle. There were even 2 new hop-ups, the Anvil Receiver and Double Tap. There was also the holiday events, Fight or Fright for Halloween and the Holo Day Bash for Christmas. Really really the first of its kind for Apex. Funny enough, we also got 2 heirlooms that season, Lifelines and Pathfinders, and we also got a new POI, being the Mirage Voyage. But my favorite addition to Season 3 was the LTM modes Respawn decided to do back then, specifically the Grand Soiree, where it was like 2 weeks of new game modes and every 2 days they'd swap them out. I think looking back now, maybe many of the LTMs back then pale in comparison to the modern LTMs like 3 Strikes or the Buster Sword one, or even the mixtape modes of today. But I would love to see the return of this event format in the future. Season 3, easily S tier for me. So yeah, Revenant got added to the game, and right here I'm showing you one of my first wins with him. At this point, I'm playing with my pals Poner and Typho, and as a side note, I'll admit my tracking had greatly improved since the Season 0 days. Exactly 1 year after Apex's release, Season 4 drops, and the cinematics that led up to Season 4 were some of the craziest storytelling in the game's history, both with the Revenant cinematic and even showing him killing off Forge, who was supposed to be the next legend. Gameplay-wise, there was the addition of Master Ranked, the Sentinel, the Sniper Ammo class, Duos, and Octane's Heirloom. Bloodhound's Trials was also added to World's Edge, and there was a funny bug where you could actually lure the Prowlers out of that area and basically anywhere on the map. Evo Armor makes its first appearance in the game in an event called Deja Loot, and I feel like during the earlier seasons of Apex, Respawn was really pushing the envelope with experimenting with new game mechanics, which made seasons like Season 4 super memorable. That being said, I wouldn't say Season 4 blew me away like Season 3 did, though still a solid season, so I'd put it at A- tier for me. But if you thought this was the end of the golden era for Apex, you'd be wrong, because Season 5 came out in May of 2020, and I would say this was when Apex had a massive second peak. COVID just hit and everyone was home playing video games. At this point, my son was born, but I was still able to make sure to keep a balance between playing Apex and being a dad. Loba was released, and she had an awesome tie-in with the previous season's lore with Revenant. Speaking of lore, I think this was one of the strongest seasons ever for storytelling. In the background, you'll see my win in Season 5, where I was using Loba. It's funny looking back because this part of the map on Kings Canyon actually has survived so many map changes, at least for now. And shh, I know you guys are gonna roast me for the 2x on the Wingman, but I'm standing by it, as it's a pretty nice optic for the Winger. Season 5 saw the introduction of quests, where each week there was a separate PvE mission where you could go and assemble fragments of an artifact, which later turned out to be Ash's head.
Is this the next character? Ash?
It was an incredible addition to the game that was super engaging to the players, as Ash was a pilot back in Titanfall 2. Map-wise, Kings Canyon saw a massive makeover with Capacitor and Rig being added, Crypto got his own POI called Map Room, and there were even secret bunkers that would open up and you could explore with loots and bits of lore sprinkled in them. This season was a banger. It felt like every week there was a new thing to explore and experience. Oh, and we also got Mirage's Heirloom, which was pretty cool. Season 5, to me, was S tier. Now you may be thinking, wow, the last few seasons Candy covered were pretty impressive. Could Respawn really keep it up? Well, Season 6. I feel like this was a bit of a letdown season compared to the last few. Don't get me wrong, we did get a new Legend Rampart and one of my favorite guns, the Vault. But I don't know, the whole season just felt a bit drier than the previous ones. Rampart was okay. I loved her story and her background, but gameplay-wise, I don't think she was really my style. On the screen here, I picked this game as my win in Season 6, and watching it back now, it's kind of funny seeing the footage because I totally forgot that on release, you couldn't move with Sheila. Season 6 also introduced crafting, which was nice and remained in the game for a while. There's also the September Soiree, which, it just wasn't nearly as good as the original, and I remember really wishing they had added fresher and newer game modes. One thing I really liked about Season 6 though was there was that super cool Horizon teaser where you could go to different locations on different maps to unlock a secret message.
New challenges available in the lobby. Nice.
I absolutely love these in-game quests that you could do that would be tied into the lore.
Holy cow.
The best thing about Season 6 though was the release of Caustic's Heirloom. As you guys can see from my face, I was super stoked to unbox it. To this day, one of my favorite heirlooms of all time. Because of that, I'll average out Season 6 at D tier. Now, while Season 6 was a bit slower, Season 7 definitely changed that. The third map, Olympus, was added, and let's just say, wow, I was blown away by it. The colors, the vibe, everything about it was incredible. We also got Horizon, who will terrorize us for the next 13 seasons. I was also invited by Respawn to record some early access footage for it, and my first win on Season 7 was actually with Punch Kid and Typho. I ended up going down, but luckily they were able to secure the win there.
Are we the winners?
Yeah,
We're the winners.
Yes. Despite the explosive start, the rest of the season was a bit quiet. There was the Fight Night event, which added Pathfinder's POI and Gibraltar's Heirloom. We also got a recycled Holiday Bash event for Christmas, which was but one hilarious thing that I loved about these early Apex seasons, and Season 7 was no exception, were the bugs. What sticks out for me was that one time when me and Boom got clipped underneath Olympus and got to experience the incredibly beautiful background skybox and the underlying city on that map. Definitely one of my favorite videos of all time. Anyways, Season 7 ranks middle of the pack at B- tier for me. By this point, we're in 2021, and Season 8 had just dropped in February of that year. Fuse and the 3030 were released, and let's just say, I absolutely loved the old days of getting both a gun and a new legend per season. I really miss that about the OG Apex seasons. Fuse is pretty fun, but I don't think it was incredibly powerful in the beginning. The 3030 was pretty decent as well. It was basically a slower firing, harder hitting G7 with a cool charger mechanic. In the background, the win I chose for this season was actually me using the 3030 to farm a 4K damage badge, hilariously enough.
Nice. We won! Nice.
Dude, I got 4K damage off of 12 kills.
Season 8 introduced gold mags, heat shields, and the Bangalore Heirloom, which was pretty clean. Funny enough, one of the LTMs, Locked and Loaded, was actually a game mode where it seemed like the devs were testing the mechanic of allowing players to start with basic gear. People started with a Mozam, 2 shields, 2 syringes, an Evo shield, knockdown shield, and white backpack. Does this sound familiar? Well, a lot of these gameplay elements did end up becoming standard. In those days, it was super interesting to see Respawn experiment with game mechanics through LTMs, something I kind of missed in the later seasons. Season 8 was pretty fun, despite it not having a new map and just getting a fancy Kings Canyon makeover. I would actually rank this around the same as Season 7, at B tier. However, I feel like it was around this time that Apex had a bit of a low point, shall we say. It's May of 2021 and Season 9 hit Apex. To be honest, it was pretty similar to Season 7 with a strong start in the beginning with the introduction of Valkyrie, the Bocek bow, and some slight changes to Olympus. For the Season 9 win, I chose this game here on Olympus where I was Bloodhound running around hunting for the last squad and then eventually finding this poor Pathfinder to test the bow on. Arenas was also added, but it's honestly wasn't really my speed. I feel like people love playing Apex for its chaos and fast-paced action, but Arenas really slowed everything down. It was still cool though, seeing how the devs were really looking at new ways to play Apex. However, I do remember during Season 9, many of the new events were centered around Arenas, like the Thrill Seekers event, for example. And I didn't really like this because it felt like at the time, it was at the expense of the main Battle Royale mode. I did enjoy the cool Pathfinder origin story as well as the Heirloom event for Revenant, but Season 9 just didn't really keep up with the momentum for me. I would put this at C tier, but things kind of took an even worse turn during the next season. Yep, so this is Season 10, and I'm sure many of you guys who played the season would remember the absolute menace Seer was on release. Literally everyone was playing this character, and it was a lot. In the background for the win for Season 10, I was one of the many trying out Seer, but I'll be honest, as strong as he was, I personally wasn't about to swap mains. The Prowler returns as ground loot after some time in the care package, but this time as a burst fire only gun. Get up, Octane, get up. Rampage was also released at this time, and to be honest, it was a bit overshadowed by the drama from the community complaints about Seer. However, as the season went on, things only got worse. You see, it was around that time that a ton of big Warzone streamers were checking out new games. Cheating in Warzone had spiked to an all-time high, so there was a ton of interest on Apex. Sadly though, season and patch day launches were a hit or miss around this era, and holy cow, when the Evolution Collection events dropped, boy was it a miss. It was quite literally impossible to play Apex due to how much the update somehow crapped out the servers. This truly felt like a low point in Apex's life cycle, where these server issues just seemed ill-timed when interest was picking up again for Apex. One small cool thing I did like though was Old Ways New Dawn, which was this in-game lore event centered around Bloodhound's story. What does it mean? Anyways, between an overpowered legend, a meh new gun, and a new game mode I wasn't super interested in, plus the feeling that development for Battle Royale was being slowed down due to Arenas content being pumped out, I didn't particularly enjoy this season. Given the horrible issues with servers being unplayable, I think I'll have to put this at F tier. But fret not, because there was a glimmer of hope on the horizon. Remember Ash's head we put back together in Season 5? Yep, welcome Ash, a fan favorite from the Titanfall 2 days. Season 11 was actually pretty great. We got a new legend, Ash, a new gun, the car, and a new map, Storm Point. I want you guys to remember this season because I'm pretty sure it is one of the last times we got a new legend, new gun, and new map all in one season. The win here was me and my Apex duo Boom and our friend Chaka messing around with the new content, and of course, landing some pretty juicy Kraber shots. The car was also a pretty decent SMG as well, though I'll say I think the Volt and R99 still remained the fan favorite. For Season 11, we got other things like custom crosshairs, yay, the pricing gun Watson heirloom, and of course that awesome Bangalore cinematic, and of course another map for arenas called Habitat 4. That being said, I really enjoyed having the new gun, new legend, new map for the season, so I'd put this one at around B tier. About 3 years after Apex's original release, we got Season 12. This season was actually the first time we got a whole new class of mythic item, prestige skins. And this time it was for Bloodhound. I think these skins were pretty controversial, but now present day Candy Brew looking back, I much prefer these prestige skins over the newer universal heirlooms that Respawn has been releasing. Maggie was released and Olympus got a pretty nice big change, but that win I'm showing off here was actually on Storm Point. I got a pretty nice Maggie ball bonk on that Pathfinder, and it's funny watching it back because man, the Flatline has always been such a good AR.
Holy cow.
Goodness.
Anyways, we also got the Crypto Heirloom, which was pretty cool, and another Arenas map drop-off. By the way, spoiler alert, as much as I'm moping about Arenas, Respawn did eventually remove the game mode entirely and replaced it with, in my opinion, better game modes like Control, TDM, and Gun Run. In fact, a couple of old Arenas maps ended up being repurposed for the new game modes, but sadly Drop-Off and Season 10's Encore were not one of them. I still feel like those old Arenas maps could be good mixtape maps, and I feel like to not use them truly feels like a waste. I think the content in Season 12 was a bit light. We got Maggie and some nice Olympus changes, but otherwise, I felt like there wasn't really nearly as many LTMs this time around. To kind of reiterate what I've been saying before, I really felt like at the time, Arenas was just sucking up so much dev resources, time, and energy. C- tier for me. It's Season 13 and Newcastle gets released. It was this big reveal of, oh my god, Bangalore's brother is still alive? It was actually pretty funny because while writing up the script, I was looking through my YouTube channel and I was like, wait, I actually don't have that much Newcastle gameplay. The one win I do have on Newcastle was with Staycation, when the character first dropped. It's not like I hated Newcastle, but I would say he's probably not my playstyle.
Excuse me, man. Excuse me.
Anyways, it was this season that Storm Point gets a nice little change with the Down Beast, and the rank mode got a decent overhaul with the addition of Rookie Tier and Tier Demotion. Other than that though, honestly, this season was pretty quiet as well. I mean, we had Valkyrie's Heirloom, and Lifeline finally got her POI. Oh, and of course, Bangalore with a really sick prestige skin, which is all fine and dandy, but I feel like in this era of Apex, it was super quiet, especially when we compare to later 2019 era Apex Legends. For me, this was probably a D+ tier. However, for me personally, on the Candy Brew channel, things are starting to change a little bit for me and my content around this time. So it was around late summer of 2022 where I felt like my content just needed a shift. Apex's content cadence wasn't super fast anymore, and I truly felt like I had to up my production quality and change content styles slightly. Though I don't know if that really helped in the long run, but I truly still feel very proud of how far I've come with my videos. I shifted away from covering patches as much and focused more on challenges and trying to lean into those funny moments I get in game. In the background, you'll see me and Boom kind of messing around on Vantage, who was the new legend for Season 14.
Take the shot.
I'm out of bullets. We were playing on Kings Canyon, which got a nice little update with Relic, aka Skulltown, being added. Other things that were added was the level cap increasing to 2000, the LTM gun run, which had that super awesome throwing knife by the way, as well as Loba's heirloom, and the laser side attachment. Man, I feel bad saying this, but I also feel like this season was a bit slow. Don't get me wrong, Apex was a blast to play, but as a content creator, I was still yearning for the good old days where content felt like it was flowing. Gun run was a blast, but I would have liked to see more with the Battle Royale mode. For me, this season was around C tier. But would things start to change in Season 15? Now we're in late 2022, and the 15th season of Apex is here. This one is a long one, clocking in at 105 days instead of the usual, 85 to 90 days. My content by this point consisted a lot of self-imposed challenges, and I think overall, I feel like it was more compelling than the stuff that I used to make before. Catalyst was released as well as a new map called Broken Moon. I actually didn't mind Broken Moon that much, but a lot of people seem to hate it. And Catalyst will go on to be an incredibly meta character, being favored over my dear Caustic. Funny enough, the win I picked for this season was back when me and Boom were doing the no heal challenge. We wanted to see if we could get a win without healing at all.
Oh my god!
As far as updates go for this season, well, we had a bunch of sales for sure. Let's start there. Wraith got her prestige skin drop, super cool. We got the heirloom for Seer, also pretty cool. But then we got a Peacekeeper Battle Pass recolor. And you may be thinking, that just seems like a reskin. Why would you mention that, Candy? Well, it was part of the Celestial Sunrise event, which was the third collection event for season 15. And after spending $160, instead of an heirloom, you got, that Peacekeeper skin. To say there was a small community outcry would be an understatement. Tons of people voiced their concerns, and even me, who's always buying these collection events, I didn't do it this time around. Yeah, taking the lackluster events and kind of averaging this all out. I mean, to be fair, we did get a new map and new legends for the season, so I think I would have to put this one at C tier. Now, it may seem kind of doom and gloom for Apex at this point, but Season 16 was actually pretty nice. In the background, you'll see me using the new gun, the Nemesis, which was an absolute menace on release. But to be honest, I didn't really mind it because it had been 4 seasons since we got a new gun.
Oh my god, dude, we can still lose. We can still lose. Oh, thank goodness you had the Nemesis.
That being said, there wasn't a new legend this time, which was the first time, unless you're counting the pre-season era. But Respawn did do some significant changes to how the legends were classified. It even gave each class its own passives. Season 16 also introduced mixtape and removed arenas, thank God. There were now bot matches called orientation matches for replayers, and a new weapon attachment for shotguns, the gold shotgun bolt. For events, there were definitely more collection events. We had the anniversary collection event, which gave you 150 heirloom shards, the Imperial Guard collection event, which gave you a recolored Wraith kunai, the Sun Squad collection event, which gave you an Ash nunchuck heirloom, and the Veiled collection events, which this one I was actually hyped for since it had the Caustic Prestige skin.
Oh, there we go. I had to relog. Oh my god.
Now, to Respawn's credit, a couple of these collection events also had playable LTMs attached with them. Like the Sun Squad one had that Heatwave mode, and Veiled had that Deadeye mode. None of these modes were groundbreaking for me personally, though Deadeye was pretty fun. Taking it all into consideration, the whopping 4 collection events aside, I actually think this season had a decent amount of content and added a lot of much needed things to the game. I would put the season at B tier. Moving on to season 17, we saw the introduction of Ballistic and a massively changed World's Edge. We even got a new survival item called the Evac Tower, which honestly to this day, as much as I enjoy using it, I feel like it made rotations a little too easy. There was also a huge overhaul to the firing range and a new weapon mastery system. In the background here, you'll see me and Boom enjoying some ranked. At this point, I was also really experimenting with figuring out what weapon would be the best for Ballistic Sling, messing around with guns like the RE45 and the Rampage. It was early on in the ranked season, so the wins and the LP gains were flowing. There were the usual smaller LTMs for the season, as well as Horizon's Heirloom and Valkyrie's Prestige skin dropping. But something I want to mention specifically was the kill code in-game playable lore. It was this pretty exciting single player thing where you were navigating as Loba through an unknown facility. It has to do with Revenant's head and his upgrades, but that'll come later. I remember thinking, man, I'm not sure how profitable a campaign mode would be, but I feel like Respawn would absolutely nail a Titanfall 3 campaign that drew upon heavily on the Apex Legends lore. Overall, this season was pretty solid, and I put this at B tier. So now, by this point, we're late summer of 2023. And this time around, instead of releasing a new legend, or new gun, or new map, they seem to have decided to go back and revisit Revenant and the Charge Rifle, giving them some big reworks. In the background here, I actually got a before versus after video with the old versus new Revenant, and let's just say, I much prefer the new version of Revenant. I feel like this was what Revenant should have been the whole time, focusing in on that aggressive high mobility playstyle that the original Revenant trailer back in Season 4 seemed to allude to. Now for the win in Season 18, me and Boom were testing out sticking an Arc Star onto an overshielded Revenant to leap onto unsuspecting players. It was a pretty hilarious combo that requires some coordination, and as you can see, we had a good time.
It didn't work. It did. I hit her 60. I hit her 60.
Oh, that's right, because I wouldn't get a notification.
I am the one that did the damage.
Now, sadly, on the other hand, the charge rifle was not so lucky. I'll be honest, the charge rifle as a hit scan was terrible, but I think Respawn reworked it to be borderline unusable at this point. I would have preferred it if they just kept the hit scan, but put it in the care package with a maximum of 20 or 25 shots. As far as the events go, Revenant gets a second recolored heirloom, as well as his very own prestige skin, and Fuse got his guitar heirloom. That being said, the collection events did bring some pretty fun LTMs, like that one where you could launch skulls at the enemy that would track people down, or the Doppelgangers events, which introduced a mode where you can copy other legends' abilities. I feel like this season, while it didn't have a new map, new gun, or new legend, or any new items per se, still felt reasonably substantial. Okay, maybe a new map would have been nice. The Revenant rework made it feel like a new legend altogether, and the LTMs were actually pretty unique and fun to play this time around. I would put this one at around B tier, but it's been a while since we've had an A tier level season for Apex. So, season 19. Let's just say I was very, very pleased with the season. In the background, you'll see me using Conduit, the new legend, playing a newly changed Storm Point. For this win, I was using the new care package version of the Wingman, along with one of my guilty pleasures, the Disruptor Alternator. Here's my trap. There we go.
Let's go, baby.
There we go. There we go. I think this was the first time Storm Point was significantly changed, and it honestly made the map, at least to me, much more enjoyable to play on. As much as I enjoyed the standard new legend plus map changes, I think the big selling points for the season were the LTMs. Outside of maybe solos back in season 2, the 3 strikes mode and the Final Fantasy Buster Sword LTMs were the best LTMs Respawn has added to the game ever. 3 strikes made pubs really fun by keeping up the action, which honestly made regular pubs really boring by comparison, and the Buster Sword mode was incredibly addicting in its own way. I could tell they truly added a ton of detail to the fighting mechanics with the sword. There was also that awesome Revenant Uprising LTM where Loba got her prestige skin. The LTM featured an extraction style mode where you can fight off hordes of player-controlled Revenants, and it also had that really intense Loba fight scene against Revenant. Overall, Season 19 killed it with the LTMs. Yes, they introduced that super expensive Universal Heirloom, but given how good the game mode was, and to be honest, how sick the Universal Buster Sword is, I don't think it's necessarily a negative point for the season. To me, this season ranks super high at A tier. Now, I feel like it'd be tough to top Season 19's LTMs, but how does the next season fare? In the background for the Season 20 win, I'm using Caustic in some ranked, testing out the brand new Legend upgrade system. They're all in my gas! Season 20 is a tough one for me. On one hand, the Legend upgrade system was absolutely game-changing. Probably the biggest and best change they've added to the game in a very long time. I hope to see more stuff like this in the future. However, besides that, we didn't get a new Legend, understandable, nor a new weapon. I mean, it's been what, since February of 2023 that we got the Nemesis? I would have loved to have a new weapon for Season 20. The LTMs are hit or miss for Season 20, I'll be honest. Lockdown was pretty fun. It was basically like a mixtape capture point mode for Apex. On the other hand, the Cobalt Qatar Universal Heirloom is definitely one of my least favorite heirloom cosmetics added to the game. But they also did drop the Octane Prestige skin, which features this pretty interesting shark theme aesthetic. Overall, Season 20 was okay. The Legend upgrade system was awesome, but besides that, the season was pretty quiet. B- tier for me. Now, we're in May of 2024 and Season 21 drops, bringing with it a completely changed Broken Moon with a new legend, Alter. Solos is also back, which is exciting. All these additions have been a blast to play, but since this season just started, I can't give it a rating yet. So I'd love your thoughts on what you think of Season 21. Looking back, I think Season 3 was probably my favorite Apex season of all time. It had a great mix of new content in terms of map, legend, and gun, as well as great post-season launch content like the Grand Soiree event. I would say Season 19 was also a banger. Man, if only Respawn could create the perfect season by bringing us the quality of LTMs from Season 19 combined with the new gun, new legend, and new map release of Season 3. Let me know what your favorite season of Apex Legends is, and while you're at it, click on this video next.